Hello, I'm Laura Wall, and tonight we are doing Manifest Miracle Moments. And this is my beautiful co host, Christina Carlin. Say hello.
Hello.
All right. So, tonight we're going to share a couple of stories around our topic for the evening. So, our topic for the evening, Christina, is
Miracle moments, manifesting miracle moments.
absolutely. And more specifically, we're going to focus on one of the first parts of manifesting, which is clarity. So you can't get what you want if you don't know what you want, right? So Christina and I are, I am her ghostwriter and she is writing a book. And one of the things that she has told me is you have to be clear, my dear, when you're speaking to the universe. So we wanted to share a little story about being clear. Christina, do you have a little story to tell us about a miracle moment that happened when you got clarity around your manifesting?
Yes, well, this is a short story, but and it just happened last week. So last week I was in Nashville for a leadership conference, and I got invited to a special event. And so me and another lady that was with me, we were walking over to where the event was going to be held. And so our hotel was just a couple of blocks away. So her and I were walking over, chatting it up, you know how you do. And when we got to the event, we noticed there was this huge line. I mean, it was long and it was wrapped around the building almost. And we were like, oh my God, is this the line we're going to have to wait to go in? And there was supposed to be food and music and like a little party. And I was starving because we hadn't, I'd eaten lunch way earlier. And I looked at her and I said, by the time we get in, all the food will probably be gone. And then she said, well, I just had surgery. I'm not supposed to stand on my feet for very long. And so I said, well, follow me. And so I said, let's just go over here and let's just peek around the corner closer to where the entry is. Let's just see what's going on. I don't know why I said that, but I never question anything when I get these little moments of these little hits, I call them. I just go with it. So she followed me and we walked around the corner. And just as we walked around the corner, it was like almost to the front of the line, this man walked up and he goes, and he grabbed my hand and he goes, follow me, we're starting a whole new another line. And so I just grabbed her, and so I followed him, and he led us right up to another front door, and we went right in just like that. And she was like, how did we just bypass that whole line when we just got here? And I said, well, that's what happens when you're in high vibration and you manifest quickly. So that's just a short little story of a miracle moment, I like to call them, when I manifested not having to wait in that long line. And it was so nice because once we got in, we got to go, and it was kind of like a food court area. So, and they had given us a $50 voucher. So we got to go and look around and get our food. We got a table. And then like 30 minutes later, all these people started coming in. So it was just like perfect. It really was.
That is awesome. That's awesome. I was waiting for the food part because I'm a food girl. And so I was like, did you get food? Did you get some
Yeah. Oh,
food?
yeah. We got food.
That's amazing. Well, I'll share my story. So, this is part of when I first was kind of playing around with manifesting. I was listening to a book that's about the topic of law of attraction. And she said, play with the universe, tell the universe what you want to see and see when it shows up. And so I was listening to this Audible book, and she was telling a story about butterflies and about this person being very clear around wanting to see butterflies in the middle of winter. And so I was thinking to myself, I'm like, that's kind of cool. I'd like to see butterflies. And it was kind of, I don't know, it was like November in Texas. So I didn't think I'd see butterflies. I was like, I'd love to see butterflies. And then she was talking about clarity, being really clear. And I'm like, okay, I want to see butterflies and I want to see hearts because I love seeing hearts. And I'm listening to a book. I'm paying attention to the road. I'm being safe, but I'm not necessarily kind of clocking where I am. And I happen to be in Brady, Texas, which is the heart of Texas. They call themselves the heart of Texas. And just as I thought, I really want to see hearts and butterflies. I drive up to nearly to a stoplight. I about wrecked my car. I pulled over. And because on the side of this building, there's this giant mural and it's beautiful. And in the corner, there are hearts. And in each corner, there is a three-dimensional metal butterfly sticking off of the mural. And I was like, what just happened? How do you turn this thing on or down? And I had to pull the car over because I was so freaked out. And I was calling my best friend who'd given me the tip to listen to this book. And I'm like, what the heck have I fallen into? This is like magic. This is amazing. But I was very open. I was very clear. Like, these are the two things I want to see. I didn't put any big restrictions on it saying, I better see this before I get home. I was just open to the process. And that's what happened for me. So it was really super fun and very exciting. And I love it when those kinds of things happen, like you said, Christina. Super fun. So, Christina, I'd love to ask you a couple of questions around the topic of clarity and getting clear, and then I'll share my own thoughts, and then we'll get some thoughts and shares from our wonderful guests tonight. So, first and foremost, when we're talking about being clear, my dear, what is it that you usually tell your clients when they come to you and they say, "I'm looking for my true love," or "I'm looking for a new job," or "I want the house of my dreams"? What kind of process do you take them through to help them get clarity?
Well, first of all, I really believe you have to start with a very clear intention, and you have to be very intentional with your thinking, because your mind can play tricks on you, and you can say, I would like to manifest a new job. But if you're all over the place, if you're like, well, I just want a new job, but I'm not sure how much I want to make, and I don't know what town I want it to be in, and I don't even know if I'm qualified for the job that I want. That's a lot of going on, a lot of thinking, a lot of mind, chatter. And so I always tell my client, you need to get so clear and so intentional with your thought process. So you know exactly what you're like, kind of like, exactly where you're headed with your goal, with your manifestation. And so if you're not clear, take time. I said, take time to think about it, write it down, maybe journal about it, to where you get so clear on what you want to manifest that there's no era for guessing or gray areas. So let's say you want to manifest a job in the next town over. So for me, maybe I live in Georgetown, but I want to manifest a job in Round Rock. I would say, and I always say, make it in the present tense. So I now have a job in Round Rock. So that's very clear. You see yourself in the job, and you know the town, it's in Round Rock. You say, I now have a job in Round Rock making X amount. So let's say it's $90,000. I now have a job in Round Rock making $90,000. There's no guessing, you know the town, what you want to make. And then you say, and so I now have a job in Round Rock making $90,000 or more. And I always add that piece, or more, as a nurse. Let's just say as a nurse. And then you just really embody that. Use the five senses to embody, like see yourself driving to Round Rock. Picture your office, picture your uniform, just get so intentional, so clear on what it is you're calling in.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. And I want to highlight something you said at the very beginning, because I've been listening to, of course, I'm studying up for this teaching. I'm going and listening to other masters. It's like you're going to order a pizza. So when you order a pizza and you call and you say, "Hey, I'd really like a thin crust pizza." Wait, no, maybe I want a thick crust. Well, okay, I do want onions on it. Oh no, maybe I should put pepperoni. Would you decide, or could you help me? They're going to hang up on you if you try to place an order, if you keep changing your mind. So part of what you were talking about there at the beginning is you're basically like sending out a signal to the universe, like, yes, this is what I want. And then you're almost like making that signal kind of fuzzy. You're putting your own static on the line by saying, I'm not sure. Am I qualified? Do I really want it there? So really taking the time to just mull it over before you send off that signal is really important. And for everyone, we've got a different process. So I'm like you, Christina. I like to sit down and write it out. And I'm also a visualizer, which I do know is not a skill that everyone has. But one of the things that you also mentioned was just embodying it and see what that would feel like. So if you can't see it in your head, the other thing I like to do is feel it. Like I like to pretend like it just happened. And then I try to create that feeling in my body, whether it's satisfaction or excitement or peacefulness, or relief. Like maybe if you're making $90,000 a year, like, oh, finally I know I can provide for my family. Oh, I can finally buy that home that I'm ready to get into. So creating that energy in your body with that clarity. Um, I also, for me, when I'm trying to get clarity on something, I like to meditate and wait to see what drops in, because sometimes I'm like, this is where I'm going. I'm determined because I'm an Aries. And then I kind of wait, and then I notice that spirit, the divine, during my meditation time sometimes will adjust my vision, adjust my intention for me, and remind me, hey, you're being too narrow, or hey, look at it a little bit bigger. And I like to add the phrase, this or something better at the very end, because that allows the generosity and the abundance of the universe to come in and fill in some gaps and give us some little extra surprises and upgrade us to VIP and maybe throw in a little swag bag. You never know what can happen if you just open up there. But the clarity part for me, like I said, my process is usually journaling, spending time in meditation, and then when I'm ready, sending out that signal. And I like to read what I've written out loud, because I feel like, again, like I'm placing an order, like for the pizza, I'm like, I am, or I'm in the process of. And that's another thing to think about with your language for clarity is sometimes if you say, I'm a nurse, you might be like, oh, I'm not a nurse yet. Oh, I can't be making that much money yet. So you can soften that language so it feels more aligned in your body. And you can say, I'm in the process of, or you can say, I'm on my way to. And so if you have difficulty with saying it out loud, and that affirmation out loud kind of gives you some like negative feedback, you're like, I don't know. You start to feel doubt. That's when you know you might need to adjust your language a little bit, or there may be a limiting belief below the surface. Do you have
Mhm.
anything else to add, Christy, before I ask for questions or see if we've got some shares?
I think that's great. The only thing I like what you said about just, I like to really claim it. And the reason why I say I am a nurse now, even if I'm not, because it's like stating it as if, as acting, acting quote unquote as if whatever it is you're wanting. So, but if that's too big of a leap for you, like you say, I am a nurse now, and then your head goes, you're still in school. That's not true. You might fail this test tomorrow. You might never be a nurse. Then don't do that, because you want to be so intentional that when you make the claim, or like you said, when you put it out there, you feel sure that you're going to receive it. Mhm.
And doubt dilutes
Yeah,
intention. So if you
exactly.
have any doubts around it, see if you can find some different language to shape it a little, to beckon it in. And again, just add that this or something better, and let God, the universe, spirit, they know you, they know your heart, they know what you need. So they will fill in those details for you. Well, awesome. Well, I want to switch over and see if we have any questions. If you'll either physically raise your hand, or there's a little button at the bottom of your screen if you're on a laptop that has a hand raising button. I know some of you may be on your phone. So if you want to raise your hand, if you have a question or a share, like I said, I know we've got some mega manifestors in here. Don't make me call on you, because I will. I would love to hear what you have to say. All right, Pamela, go ahead.
Something that I love to add, because I mean, everything else said is great. And one of the things I do is I write it all out on a piece of paper. And then I'm a mind mapper, and if you're not familiar with mind mapping, it's you have a piece of paper or a big bulletin board, and you put your actual goal in the middle, and then you do all the little details that would go with that. But one of the things that I always add to it, from learning from doing this, is that it's fun and it's easy. Because there's times when you manifest stuff and it may not be fun and easy and joyful. So it's always good to add that fun and easy to that.
Love
Absolutely.
that.
Those
Yes,
those
yes.
are very helpful. Yes, that's part of we all are having life lessons, and we can welcome them in with joy and ease and ask for
Mhm.
that. We don't have to go through the suffering and the hardest lesson, or go through the 47 steps to get the job that pays us 90,000 as a nurse. So awesome. That's a great tip, Pamela. I
But
appreciate
journal,
that.
journaling and then go, having your journal and then going back, dating it, and then dating when it pops up, so that you have those remembrance of all those wonderful things. I've got several journals of that, and it's just fun to flip back through and go, aha, you remember those fun little things, and um, it's just great.
That's a really great point. So I keep what I call my miracle moments note on my phone. And so when things pop up that are amazing, that I've called in or that are happening to me, I write them down in a little bit of detail. And those are super handy at dispelling the doubt. So if you're creating something new and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can ask for this, this feels like a stretch, go back to your notes and go, oh, well, I asked for something that was a stretch a year ago and I got it and more. Or, oh, there was something that showed up last week. So having those little notes to remind you what a powerful manifester you are is very useful. Christina, would
Most
you like to
definitely.
comment on what Pamela had to say?
Yes to all of it. I mean, it's just journaling about what you want to manifest, using the five senses, noting, because it's like if you I would say start with a small goal, and then once you are a small manifestation, and once you manifest that, it gives you confidence, like, okay, I can manifest, and then you can shoot for bigger goals, bigger manifestation goals. And that's what I like to do, just play with the little ones, and then once I've mastered that, do something bigger. And it really, once you start manifesting the little ones, you'll gain confidence. You're like, there's something to this, it works. um so
Well, even like our
absolutely.
home, I manifest. Laura's been into my home, and I manifest. I mean, it was just like I detailed everything. The only thing I didn't do is all my flooring the way I wanted it. Not you have to have those details. Now the floor is cut. The flooring's coming, but make sure you put in all those little tiny details, because if you don't, it will be there.
But then it
That's
gives
That's
you
when
the
I
important.
opportunity to manifest again.
when I
Exactly. I love, yeah, and that process.
when I
All
work
right,
with
I'll let
coaching
somebody else
clients,
share.
and they want to manifest their perfect guy, I'll say, make sure if you want a man that likes to cook, you say, I want a man that likes to cook for me and with me, because you might manifest that guy that likes to cook, and he'll say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't cook for anybody but myself. And you're like, well, that's so good.
Or he
So
could
that's
be a
what,
chef and he just cooks at work and then he
right.
comes home and he doesn't
Yeah,
want to cook.
exactly. So, the
Exactly.
details are very important, because like I said, you write down to, I want a man that likes to cook and cook with me and for me. I want a man that likes to travel and has the time and money to travel. I mean, there's so many ways you can expand on that, but
Absolutely. I'll let
It's in
somebody
the
else
details.
share.
Thank you, Pamela. I
Details
appreciate
are
it.
important.
Do we have another share or a question around being clear, my dear?
anybody?
All right, Alyssa, or do you pronounce it Alisa or Alyssa?
Alyssa,
Okay.
put my hand down. So I'm not like an expert manifester yet, but I think one of the easiest things you can do is start to manifest parking spaces. Because it happens instantly and you're just like, oh, shoot, like this really works. And no matter where I go, I manifest. And when I don't, like if there's a lot of stuff on my mind, then I'm not getting that parking space. But you will be amazed to see how quickly and um, how well it works. I think that's your proof if you need, to build up your confidence in it.
Absolutely. We do that all the time. When I'm with Christina, we manifest parking spaces all the time. Like, I don't even think about it anymore. I'm not worried. Like, if we're going somewhere, I'm like, oh, it's going to happen. And that's the level of belief that we're talking about, where you're so certain of it. And it changes your energetic frequency. It changes what you're sending out to the universe. And the law of attraction is actually partnered with the law of resonance, which basically says what I get, what I vibrate, what I'm sending out is coming back to me. So if I'm driving around like, I don't know if I'll get a parking space today, you're right. You probably won't get one. Thank you, Alyssa. All right. I see Emily. Yes, Emily.
Hi, Laura. Hi, Christy. I have a question. So, what do you do when the doubt sets in? Like, what's your advice?
Can you give me like maybe a scenario where you were trying to manifest something and the doubts snuck in?
I mean, nothing specific, but like when you're like, oh, it's not gonna happen, or it's not gonna happen the way I want it to, or you're just like nothing's happening. So you're like, when is this gonna happen? Or you start thinking of worst case scenarios too.
Okay. I'll speak a little bit to this and then I'll let Christina speak also, which her screen name on here, it says Christy. She's got a code name in her other business, which is Mary Kay. And so I know her as Christina, but she also goes by Christy. So just for those that might be confused, because I realized I'm calling her by the name I know her by.
For clarifying that, Laura. I need to change that next time.
That's fine. So Emily, I think that when that doubt creeps in, basically what's happening is there might be some sort of limiting belief, something that you've picked up along the way, kind of like a computer virus that you may not be aware of, that is changing your circuitry. And again, the ego self likes to say, oh, you shouldn't ask for that, you're being selfish, or oh, that's too big, or that's that's way out of your league. And so what I like to do when something in my field, it's not showing up immediately, or it's showing up not exactly as the way I want, is I just start chanting the mantra, everything's working out for me. And every way, every day, it's always working out for me. And when I do that, I'm reducing my resistance. So resistance, internal resistance, is part of what is affecting what's coming towards us. So when I do that, I'm kind of softening up. I'm like, okay, well, I ordered a pizza with pepperoni and I wanted it here by 7, and it looks like it's going to be here at 7:15, and then it looks like it's going to be sausage, and okay, let me see, it's working out for me, it's working out for me. And then when it arrives, maybe my husband wasn't ready to eat at 7 o'clock. Maybe when the sausage shows up, he's like, oh, you remembered me, thank you, I really wanted sausage tonight. I don't know what's coming beyond the receipt of that. So just being open to what you are receiving. And I always, like I said, I do the mantra and then I go back to gratitude, because gratitude changes your energetic frequency. So what could you be grateful for in the moment? Like, okay, I'm not getting the parking space I wanted, but I got one that's really close and it's not raining and I'm meeting up my friend for lunch and this is going to be an amazing lunch and I'm going to keep practicing and I'm learning how to manifest. And so moving back into gratitude changes like that resistance as well. It softens it up. So those are kind of 2 quick tips. It depends on, like if you're trying to manifest a Ferrari tomorrow, that I know there's some mega manifestors out here who can do it. I may not be one of those, but again, it depends on the situation, which sounds like a bypassing word. But again, there might be limiting beliefs around money and around receiving that might be hidden. And so I'm going to let Christy respond to what happens when doubt creeps in. What do you do, or what do you advise your clients to do?
I think it's getting quiet. And I always say, what's the story you're telling yourself? What's the story you're telling yourself that's bringing in the doubt? Because you're putting something out there. And if it's not coming in quickly, it could be ego at play. The ego tells us stories, and maybe you're making the story true, but it might not necessarily be true. So I would say, get down to the nitty gritty of what's the story you're telling yourself. Why are you feeling the doubt? Why are you feeling anxious, or like it's not happening fast enough? Because there's probably something that like a belief, just like you said, there's probably a belief that's stored that you're not aware of. It's probably deep, very, very subconscious. So does everybody on here know the difference between conscious and subconscious beliefs? I'm pretty sure a lot of people do, but for those that
we've got some starters, and I always like to hear it again because I'm always learning. I may have it wrong.
So consciously, the thoughts we think, day in, day out, that's kind of our conscious awareness. And then, so I always like to use the analogy, like you're on your computer and you might be looking at programs for dogs. And then you go, oh, I think I'd rather get a cat. So you memorize, the program for dogs, and you start looking at all the cats. Well, the dog program is still running there. All the things about dogs are still running there because you didn't click it off. So you can bring it back up any moment, but you're still looking at cats. And that's kind of the way our belief systems are. We might have belief systems and we don't even realize we have them until something brings it to the, surface. We get triggered, someone says something to us, and all of a sudden that program that was buried very deep that you didn't realize was running comes up to the surface. So that's subconscious beliefs. So if there's a lot of doubt or resistance, or maybe you're not reaching your goals fast enough, check in with your deep self-conscious beliefs, because they're probably stored there and they're being triggered in some way.
Yeah, I think of our subconscious beliefs are our thoughts, our habits, things that we've inherited from family, things that we've been taught that are stored, like you said, in the back of the computer. And we may not even know that they're running, they're there. And again, a belief is usually a thought that we think over and over and over, and it becomes automated. And our mind's like, oh, this is her belief. Let me just store that for her. And so it could be, I shouldn't receive, I'm being greedy, this is selfish. And if you're always thinking, I'm being selfish in my business, or I shouldn't ask for so much money, or I should negotiate for less because I know this hospital can't afford my salary. Those thoughts that you keep thinking over and over, they become a belief and get stored at the subconscious level. And the conscious mind is about 5% of our thoughts, and then 95% of what our mind is about is the subconscious. Did you have something else, Christina?
Too, it can be our subconscious beliefs can be stored, on the generational, can go, back. It can be in your DNA, so it can be, generational DNA. It can be past lives. I mean, it can go deep, and we're not going to go there tonight. But there's a lot of places that you can store subconscious beliefs.
Yeah, I have grandparents that went through the Depression. And so I know that I inherited some of their beliefs around money. Maybe they never verbally conveyed them to me, but I felt them, I sensed them, they're in my DNA. And so there's always been kind of a lack mindset that I've been shifting. I do want to stop and comment or read a comment that Michelle Harvey put in the chat. We're back to your question, Emily, which was about how do you deal with resistance or doubt when it comes up? And she said that what she likes to say is, in the timing that is best for my highest good, especially if she's not getting it right away. And she said, this or something better, in the case of manifesting a particular thing that I think I want, but it may not be best for me. So sometimes when we are sending out that signal, the universe is responding. It's like, okay, lady, you're not ready yet. We're going to give you one more year, and then we'll send you that client, or we'll send you, that great house or that great partner, or whatever the thing that we're manifesting. Awesome. All right. Well, we've got some time now for breakout rooms. And so for tonight, I'm going to put you all in probably 2s and 3s in a breakout room. And what I would like for you to do with your partner or with your partners is I would like for you to share the thing that you are focused on manifesting. I would like you to be clear, my dear, and share that with the other people. And if it's not clear to them, maybe your partner or partners are going to ask you some questions so you get more clarity around it. And so